War Eagle Auburn Family, and welcome back to another edition of Auburn Family News and Discussion, where we talk about everything that's going on in the world of Auburn Tigers stuff, sports, anything and everything in between. Obviously heavy on the sports every time we talk about these things, but if it's Auburn, if it's orange and blue, we talk about it here. My name is Kyle. I am the editor and owner of the E2C Network, which is a family of podcasts that cover Auburn athletics, and I appreciate you being here to talk about what's going on in the world for us as the Auburn family today. Obviously, we're still heavy into the Auburn coaching search situation. We got a little clarity with that yesterday with the coordinators being named and some other coaches being named as well. We'll go through who those were. Also today, I want to potentially dive a little bit more into potential coaches that are coming, as well as new renderings and images that have surfaced for the new development center. So there's a lot to cover today, and here's the thing. This is a live show. Things broke yesterday during our stream, so things will probably break today during this. So that's what we're going to cover here. But let me cover my housekeeping stuff at the beginning like we always try to do, so I hope that you'll just bear with me for a minute here. As I mentioned, we are a podcast network first and primarily. So I want you to go check that out. If you have not done so, please consider subscribing on Apple Podcast or any podcast app that you prefer out there. It's usually on any one that's available. If it's not available on the one of your choice, please let me know, and I will get it out there for you. I'm also putting on YouTube the link for those that want to go check it on podcast. Specifically today, we have released a new Auburn Roots story where someone gets to tell their Auburn story. And they get to share like the things they experienced in their Auburn fandom and how they became an Auburn fan, all that stuff. It's a really cool series. And right now I am putting, if it'll actually go, the link to the, and I know I'm taking a lot of time to get to the actual stuff y'all want to hear about, but just bear with me just a second. So we have our podcast network feed that has all the shows on it. But then we have a separate one where it just has Auburn Roots. Now, Auburn Roots is on the main feed, but I've also put in there, if you want to check out the Auburn Roots only one. If you don't want all the podcasts, we're trying to experiment with this one. So I put two different links in there for you. The third link I always want you to go check out and consider helping support the content that we do here on our Patreon campaign called the E2C Network Booster Club, where you can sign up for as little as $1 a month and help us do this more often and help us produce the content that you guys are enjoying so much right now. So that is the bulk of what I have for you here today. We're broadcasting live on Twitter and mainly here on YouTube. So as you're coming into the stream, please do smash the like button, retweet it, share it out. It is more fun when we have a lot of people here to discuss. And we had a huge crowd yesterday with the coordinator search. I think we reached about 200 people live at one point. Let's see if we get close to that today. It'd be great, but you can do that by hitting the like button. All right, let me say hello to a couple people I've already seen pop in. And if you're here, say War Eagle, hello. I want to know who's here. War Productions is here. And one more minute. I guess he got there early. Kowalski says, enjoying seeing all the good hires. I think most people are pleased with the hires. I think there's some, areas where people are kind of like, oh, really? But, we'll see how all that works out. So there's a lot of smoke that T. Will and Caddy will get to stay. What you say, man. So yesterday, and this kind of goes into the main discussion anyway, so I guess I can kind of address this right here. Kenneth asked, do I think that Caddy and T. Will are going to stay? I was of the opinion yesterday, based off what I was being told, that T. Will is the more likely option than Cadillac. Some things changed, I think, favor Travis Williams more, and I think things have started to shift. Maybe there's favorable for Cadillac, and I'm hoping so. I'm a huge Cadillac fan. He's on the wall behind me here, if you can see it. I think most of y'all can see it on both the social media streams. My favorite Auburn player, so I'd love to see him stay. And he got his Tank Bigsby, right? You want to keep that. So I hope that he does find a way to convince Coach Harsin that he needs to be on the staff, because I think he will be a great up-and-coming coach. So as of this moment, I would still say I'm still more favorable towards T. Will having an opportunity to stay. In fact, when I say favorable, I want them both to stay, but favorable meaning chances that it's likely. And then Caddy, I'm still kind of on, rumors are only go so far. A.U. Robinson's in the house. Let's see. Gregory Mason hire was good. Yes, I agree. I think it was for me both, let me be honest with you, and I addressed this a little bit yesterday. The hires for me don't disappoint me, but they don't really excite me either. They're just kind of like satisfactory. Does that make sense? And I don't mean to disparage the hires in any way because, I think I'm more excited about Derek Mason than I am Mike Bobo. But as I learn a little bit more about him, the excitement's getting a little bit higher there. So, we're in a time right now as Auburn fans where we're looking for reasons to be optimistic, and I think that's good. I think you also have to temper the excitement with a little bit of reality as well, because that can lead us down to a big, big disappointment if we're not careful. Excuse me. Any news, rumors on position coaches that might be staying? Great question, Jason. We're getting to that. I always try to stay up to date on these questions and comments as we go, though. Kowalski, I think we already addressed your question right there. Harsin got some good recruiters, and he has a plan, Auburn fan says. So, yes, I think that's obviously the key thing here, that Coach Harsin recognizes that if this is not a retool, this is a rebuild, that you have to start from the ground up, and that seems to be the indication of what his choices are in terms of his coaching selections here for his staff. War Eagle, I think let's see. Kowalski, there you go. Every once in a while, us Southern boys get it right. We can't talk that well, but so anything said about Cody Burns? I have heard nothing about Cody Burns, which is not good. And let me give it to you this way. As much as I love Cadillac as my number one player, Cody is Cody's pretty much there's 1A and 1B, because I like the story of Cody is amazing. And as much as I want Cadillac to be here, I want Cody to be here. I just don't see it happening at this moment. At the moment. Things can change, though. John is here. What's up, man? Caddy got an interview, and T-Will may be kept without an interview. We'll say this doesn't get T-Rob for DB. It will be Kenneth. I love that you want to keep all the Auburn people here. That's what I want to, and bring them in. I just don't see Brian doing that. I think if you looked at the way this positional coaching thing has laid out here, I don't know that Brian's focus is on keeping Auburn people here. I hope he'll keep some and bring some in, but I don't know that is his focus. I heard Cadillac got an interview. You think he's going to stay? I think if he got an interview, if that is true, then I think his chances have increased dramatically. Because I think Cadillac, when he gets in a room and can make his own case with Coach Harsin, which I think most people that wanted an interview that were on the last staff got it. I think Cadillac could convince him. A. Robinson, you and I are going to fight in a fun way. No, I disagree with you completely there. Somebody, and we didn't get to it yesterday. Somebody was trying to say we didn't develop wide receiver players. We don't have time to get into today. There's too much. That is a completely false statement. But I understand. The frustration there. I didn't like my Bobo hire until I found out he grew up an Auburn fan and wanted to go Auburn, but didn't get a chance, and the rest is history. So now he's coming back. So yeah, so that's part of the story that probably endears you towards him, right? That doesn't make him a success of a hire yet, but it does make him, a little bit more favorable. This is a great question, Kowalski, and this kind of gets me into the notes that I had prepared today. So let me do that. Who would you think be the best fit at wide receiver coach? So, as most of you know, I use that magical word that everybody hates. I have a source who was 100% correct during the head coaching hire situation, and has now been getting more information recently about these kind of coaching hires. It was quiet for a little bit because I think, for obvious reasons, the transition really hadn't taken place yet. He gave me a list of names to check in on yesterday, which I knew very little about, and I still am kind of growing in my knowledge about, but I've at least kind of written some of them down and some things about them to kind of keep in mind as we go forward. And these aren't indication as to this is who is interviewed, this is who is being considered. These are just names that he is hearing, and I trust that information wholeheartedly. So in the case of wide receivers coach, the one big name that I am hearing, and let me make sure that I'm not missing a couple of big names here that potentially have that. Brian McClendon out of Oregon. Now, he currently is the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. That name came up. The one that's got me the most intrigued, though, that's Darryl Wyatt. He is the UFC wide receivers coach right now, and I'm really intrigued by this one for some reason, and here's why. If recruiting is the thing of the day for us and what's making us make these certain hires, you notice that Coach Harsin has been really focusing on not just finding some Southeast recruiting prowess, but some West Coast, Midwest, Southwest potential recruiting prowess. And I think Darrell Wyatt could be that. Even though he's at Orlando right now, much of his time has been spent in what we would call the Midwest or the Southwest. Here is his coaching tree. Currently the wide receiver coach at UCF, then Arkansas State. So it's another Arkansas State tie in there. Houston, Oklahoma State. He was with Texas during their last time they were relevant for 3 seasons. Southern Miss, and then he's also had some time at Kansas, Arizona. He was with the Minnesota Vikings, Oklahoma, Baylor, Wyoming, Sam Houston, Trinity Valley. So literally the guy is established in the Southwest and the Midwest. So whereas you've got Harsin, who's up there in the Northwest, and we're thinking about bringing some other people from the West Coast, namely the biggest name there would be the new defensive coordinator, excuse me, in Derek Mason, who has West Coast recruiting experience. He looks like he's really covering the entire United States here. At some point, he's going to have to add somebody who's recruited Alaska and Hawaii, right? So I think that's a name to potentially pay attention to. That is not my source has not said that this is someone who's gotten an interview. This is not someone who has actually wanted the job. But 2 names that I see here that I've at least investigated a little bit: Brian McClendon out of Oregon, who also spent time at Georgia, so he's got Southeast and South Carolina as well, Pac-12 and Southeast experience. So I think that would be a potentially good one there. Hey, Robinson wants to fight. Yeah, we could do that here. Isn't that the thing to do on social media now, is to fight with each other? I mean, are you even doing social media if you're not fighting with someone? Kowalski wants Damian Craig. I like Damian Craig, and he's an incredible recruiter. To me, that feels like it's kind of like the Will Muschamp thing. It feels like that time has come and gone. If he wants to come back, I'm not going to be upset about that. But it just feels like that doesn't really, really happen for me. War Productions, didn't we get someone offensive line? Yes, we did. And I can go through who we have currently at this point. So there's a Twitter petition going on to keep T. Will, and has been sent to Coach Brian Harsin over and over. I love the fervent nature in which we are going in support of T. Will. I don't think that Brian Harsin is going to pay much attention to your petition, but doesn't mean I'm not in favor of it. As I've said from the very beginning that I thought T. Will deserved a look. Didn't mean he was the best option out there, but a look at defensive coordinator. That's not going to be the case. Apparently, in Coach Harsin's opinion, he wasn't ready for that yet on his staff. I'm still here, but I have absolutely no idea what to say. Oh, you're good. You're good. No need to say anything unless you want to. All right. So let me go through and I've got some other names here for us to talk about a little bit. Here is official as of me saying this, or going live, because I don't have access to the things that are happening on Twitter at the moment, which we see the announcements on usually. Here's your official staff as announced by the Auburn football accounts. Coach Brian Harsin, Brad Larondo, well, and I shouldn't say he's not been announced like that because he's not a traditional coach, but Brad Larondo came over from Boise State to be his chief of staff. Every coach has this one, so I'm going to throw him in there because I think he's an important part of the support staff, almost as important as one of the coaches, because he's the guy that helps head coach do all the not-so-fun stuff. And he's part of the process of hiring the rest of the coaches. So Brad Larondo, I would throw in there as well. Jeff Pittman as the strength and conditioning coach. Mike Bobo as offensive coordinator. Derek Mason as defensive coordinator. And we hired Will Friend, who came along apparently with Mike Bobo at offensive line. I know nothing of Will Friend, and I haven't even begun to dig into him a little bit to see if this is a good hire or not. But that is where your that is where your coaching officials stand at this moment. So, with that being said, everybody on Twitter, on YouTube, what do you think about that coaching staff so far? How would you rate it overall? Not individually. Yesterday I asked you to rate the hires of the offensive and defensive coordinators, and we got a pretty consistent A to B plus for Mason and a B minus to C minus for Mike Bobo. But as a whole, how would you rate this? This staff so far? Is it A, B, C, D, F, G? No. Don't go that far. But yeah, Auburn fan says he is Will Friend is a good recruiter. Question of development though. So, and that's a scary revelation to me there, Auburn, because if you recall, I think you've been here long enough to have heard me say this. The biggest mistake that Coach Malzahn made was hiring Herb Hand. Great offensive lineman recruiter. We were just pulling in the 4 and the 5 stars. Didn't coach them up at all. And we're seeing the ramifications of that at this point. So, if that's the case, that makes me a little worried. But it seemed like if Mike Bobo was going to come, every time I heard his name, it's like if Will Friend comes with him, that makes me feel better. So, I tend to kind of lean more with the popular opinion there. The combo is better than individually. So we'll see if that continues to hold true. The thing is, Coach Harsin has to fix the offensive line. And if he trusts Will Friend to do that, and Mike Bobo by proxy, I'll trust him. Let's see here. We got an A minus. I rated A minus so far. A minus or B plus. B plus. Okay, I like all of those grades thus far, to be honest with you. I think those are very fair opinions about all of this. To me, I think optimism is high. I'm probably sitting somewhere at just a solid B at the moment because, like I said, I was not disappointed by any of this. It doesn't. There's not been a hire yet that's a wow to me. So that's why I'd put it as a B. It's meeting or slightly above expectations because it could have been a lot worse, right? A C would be meeting expectations, which we don't want to do if we were going to go through what we did. Let's see. I've seen a tweet from Lorondo, his Auburn design, and seen that his thing for Auburn and his role to support us. I'm not understanding that run there. Random question. But have you heard the rumor mill about UGA and Tennessee possibly being investigated? Neil, that's the thing about rumors. I don't put much stock into them. I love to talk about them and I love to speculate on them, but I wouldn't get too excited about those things until they actually happen. So here's the thing. Somebody had a great tweet, and I think it was one of our E2C Network contributors, and I'm forgetting who it was. I think it was Jared Davis of the No Huddle show, our Auburn football show, who said, trying to recruit like Saban, except without the connections, which is why they're getting in trouble. Here's the problem. Both of those head coaches are connected to Saban. You don't think that they don't know some of the people he knows? They'll probably get slapped on the wrist. They'll be fine. Being connected with Nick Saban saves you a lot. So it's fun to talk about that they might get in trouble, and this is usually what happens when you see recruiting happen on that level like those two have had. There's some fishy stuff going on. Alabama now, we don't question it because it's the common thing, but when it just kind of drastically changes, there's something going on. And that's, you could see, I'll use an Auburn example. When you saw Auburn turn up its recruiting for those two seasons there under Gene Chizik, we found out there was some stuff going on. Not the Cam Newton stuff, but other things as well. Let's see. I'm ready to see some positive recruiting news as a result of these new hires. Well, I don't know that you're going to see that fully yet until the staff is fully fleshed out, because that's going to really determine some of these people that are sitting, recruits that are sitting on the fence, whether they were committed or not, whether they want to be here, right? So I think maybe you'll see one or two maybe pop up because the positional coach they were hoping would be here came or stayed. But we'll see. I'm fine with the OC and DC hires. Bobo is a good recruiter. And I think that's what everybody's justification for Mike Bobo is. He's a great recruiter. Yeah. And so I think we're all a little worried, and, based on past history, probably rightfully so, about offensive scheme and stuff. But if Brian Harsin is supposed to be doing the play calling, maybe we don't be so worried about that. Kowalski agrees with the offensive line. This is like paramount. Recruiting at this point is not even the most important thing. Fixing the offensive line. And defensive line is not fixing, but maintaining and continuing to improve that. If we cannot establish the line of scrimmage, you will not be able to compete. It's that simple in football. Football is a complex game, but it starts and it ends with the line, and that's why it ended very quickly with Auburn this season on offense a lot. A. Robinson's B+, don't like the OC. Well, he's here, so you need to find a way to like him, even if it's just for recruiting purposes, right? I think here's the thing that I found with Mike Bobo. People's reservations for him, they always have the counter that he recruits well. So if that's the only thing that you can take away from it, try to look at it that way. Yes, we'll talk about that. Let me catch up with everything here. The $60 million football facility in 2023. There's some exciting stuff there that is pretty interesting. A. Robinson says Tennessee's screwed. Well, it would be fun to watch Jeremy Pruitt, kind of fade off into the dust. Chandler Fullman, if you happen to watch this on Twitter later, he is a big he's an Auburn fan, we think, but he loves him some Jeremy Pruitt. I've always questioned why. No, that's a no. Dan Patrick was talking about it on the show, talking about the OC and DC hires, I guess is what you're talking about. Oh, the Tennessee stuff is probably what you're talking about. I was told, and here's his quote, I was told Georgia got sloppy recruiting. I don't know if it's true, but it would be fun to watch UGA fans squirm. UGA fans are always squirming because every year is their next year, right? The best thing that I've seen on social media of the past couple of days, in a world of social media that's just nutso, was everybody trolling Georgia with that tweet that next year is going to be the year. And it's like, this tweet has been fresh for 20-something years. Hope we start getting recruits as the staff is assembled. I think you'll see some, but I think really once it's fully fleshed out, meaning all the positional coaches are in place, that's when you're going to really start seeing that kick up. And that's why I think you've seen the hires started happening quickly. Here's my opinion of what's going to happen. I think we've kind of gotten to the point. I feel like you'll probably see some announcements today of some speculations on hires, maybe an official stuff, but I don't know that you won't get some more full things until either this weekend or the beginning of next week. Just an opinion, no really inside information, just kind of feeling the situation out. And I'm probably completely wrong, just the way that it feels. Let's see, back it up. So I'm looking here. Hang on one second. I might be. War Production says I might be able to go to Auburn at Penn State next year. Will anybody be able to go to Auburn at Penn State? That's the question at this point. That's a much bigger issue and a much bigger topic we don't have time for. But I love that, and I was actually hoping to go as well. It's just going to depend on what's going on there. Does Harsin use tight ends? The big question that every Auburn fan loves to ask. I don't know how to break it to y'all. Tight ends are not the end-all, be-all of offenses. They're great, and they are great when they're used properly. Doesn't mean Auburn has to use them to be successful. But I think we should. And I'm not picking on you, Dave. It's just the whole tight end. Like everybody's, we don't use the tight ends. We don't use the slant. You can be successful without those things. Doesn't mean that we can't use them. Bobo did develop a lot of good talent at quarterback at UGA, so maybe a good hire here. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a slightly above meets expectations hire as stands right now, personally, simply from the recruiting standpoint. Harsin might have a lot of respect for Bobo. They coached against each other. Boise played Colorado State, and that's the weird thing too is he had 1 year at Colorado State and then left. Hear anything about Gunnar Stockton following the Bobo? And I think that's what everybody is most excited for. So I think everybody's opinion changes on Bobo if Stockton comes with him. So it's so funny how people have forgotten all about Demetrius Davis all of a sudden because he was the savior that was coming in, right? Now I know Gunnar is a 2022 recruit, so he wouldn't even be here till next season. But everybody's all of a sudden moved on, and it goes to show you what I've been arguing with everybody saying, stop ignoring Bo Nix and stop writing him off. It goes to show you that it's always the guy who will replace the guy that is the most popular player on the team. And that guy's not even on the team yet. So I know I'm not trying to like temper the excitement for that, because that's great and that would be awesome. But just because you're a 5-star recruit and your high school tape looks good, it doesn't mean you're going to turn out that well. Jeremy Johnson. And I love Jeremy Johnson, but let's just talk about that for a second. But what I'm hearing is that opportunity to bring him here went up significantly with the Bobo hire. Have we recruited our strength and conditioning coach yet? And if so, what do you think of the hire? If you're talking about have we hired him, yes, Isaac. His name is Jeff Pittman, coming over from Boise State. That is the least shocking thing in the world, that if there was going to be a Boise State coach come over immediately, it was going to be the strength and conditioning coach. That's like I hire my guy type of thing. Not surprised that well, because he knows Coach Harsin, what he wants, his system, how he wants his players prepared. That's an easy decision right there. Are we going to have a much better team with Chad gone? Let's see. Okay, sometimes it's hard to make out what you're trying to say sometimes in these comments here. I don't think that you can fault Chad Morris for an odd year in COVID. That's a lot of people don't take a step back and think about what they're actually. And I'm not picking on O'Neal here. I'm just saying, like, the whole idea of Chad Morris was the problem. Gus, well, you have a bigger argument with that, but Bo Nix is the problem. You got to take a step back for a second and think about that. Chad Morris wasn't the problem. It wasn't. In 1 year, it didn't look good, but he should have been given 2 years before we write him off. I don't want some guy at quarterback named Gunnar Stockton on general principle, but if that principle prevents you from winning a national championship, is that okay? And it's fine if that's okay, because I have a principle. If that prevents me from winning a national championship, I'm okay with. But think about that. Let's see here. I often hear, write it down, we will win a national championship, been hearing it for 40 plus years. Talking about the Georgia people. Spoken with a few UGA alumni. They're sad and mad that Bobo is coming to Auburn. Yeah, I do think that some of the rivals are kind of getting a little worried by what's being assembled here, because they can feel the momentum swing actually happening that they hoped wasn't coming. O'Neal says Demetrius Davis is a better quarterback. He is a better quarterback in high school. So let me just, and I think we're going to have to battle on this today. Demetrius Davis is great. I'm excited he's going to be here, and he may end up being one of the best quarterbacks. But to say that he is better than Bo Nix right now is a completely false statement, because they have not competed against each other yet on the practice field or anything. So when that happens and he wins the job, he's obviously better, right? I didn't like it when Cody Burns got beat out by Chris Todd, and I'm a huge Cody Burns fan, but according to the coaches, he was the better option at quarterback. Will Bo transfer if losing the starting quarterback job? I don't think so. I think I guess that depends on if he actually is wanting to be a football person for the rest of his life, but, I kind of get the feeling that Bo's happy where he is, being where his father played. Just a feeling. No really background information on that. Where is Auburn getting all this money from to get rid of an old staff and bring in a completely new one in a pandemic year? It's called boosters that did not support the former head coach and were ready to pony it up, and they just needed the right opportunity to do it. As a Gamecock fan, I hate y'all right now. Well, Caleb, we hated you during this season, so it's tit for tat at this point. Let's see. Bobo was at Colorado State a lot longer than 1 year. Okay, I'm sorry. I had that wrong. I thought he was there for 1 year. See, that's how closely I followed Mike Bobo for this year. So, obviously, I don't know everything. How long before Auburn really battles for the West in terms of the division? I've said that my opinion, Davis, is on this. Is that, by the way, I love that avatar picture. I'm looking at it right now. I hit myself. I think that Auburn this year will go 7-5, meaning really 8-5 after winning a bowl game. I think year 2 will see a dramatic increase in success, meaning that we are competitive for the SEC West title. Year 3 will be kind of a leveling off, if not a slight dip. The real thing is year 4. if Coach Harsin can survive year 4 and prove that he's going to maintain 8 or above every year, I think we're going to be good. Pop Winter says we've assembled a solid staff so far, but of course that's outside looking. And I think that's a great perspective, Pop, to have, is to realize that you are looking on the outside, and so we don't see the full picture yet, but we'll see. Raymond, good morning to you as well. Boise State's record as a head coach is better than Gus, and that's why we got him. You're comparing a Boise State that doesn't play what Auburn plays. That O'Neill, you're giving at this point. I'm not trying to be mean, man, but you're just giving opinions that really, when you line them up and analyze them, they don't match up. So that's unfortunate. So just wondering why they didn't hire Stan, Quentin, and Bo. Stan. That's funny. All right, let's talk a little bit about this, and we can come back to the coaching stuff, but keep your questions and comments coming. The new images for the Auburn Development Center, have you seen them? Yes or no in the comments right now. I want to see if anybody else has seen them, and if you've kind of looked at them at least to see what you think. So yes or no in the comments. Have you seen the new Football Development Center pictures? I think AU Family has them up there. I think we might have posted some at this point. I will tell you this. What you all have seen is only a fraction of what I've seen. I have been sent by my source the full renderings, and I'm talking files, like hundreds and hundreds of pages of this stuff, and I have not even like scratched the surface. I've got detailed, like what you're seeing on social media is the artist representation of what's happening. I'm looking at the actual architectural designs of it and stuff like that. It is absolutely incredible. Absolutely. Jason has seen it. Neil has not. Let's see. Pop has seen it. Let's see. There's an article on AL.com. What are we referring to there? Small time. I'm not sure what we're referring to. Kevin has not seen it. So if you haven't, go check them out. There's going to be some things. And, I haven't been given permission to post any extra things from that, so I'm not going to at this point. But I'm very, hesitant to do that without permission. But this thing looks really good. And so that's the big thing, right? One of the thing that most people don't understand why Auburn wasn't as successful as some people in recruiting is because they didn't have the facilities to compete with Alabama, with Georgia, with Tennessee, all that stuff. It is, referring to the facility, yes. So that's Small Time says that AL.com. So AU Family, I think, posted on social media. AL.com has it now, according to Small Time. So if you want to take a look at some of those renderings, I suggest you do, because it's really, really, really interesting to see some of the things. And some of it feels a little superfluous, right? Like, too much. But if that's what it takes to compete, I mean, you got to do what you got to do here. Let's see. I'm wondering if there'll be a real quarterback competition this year. There's always a quarterback competition, right? Every year. It's just a matter of who's better. And right now, Bo Nix is better. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it is. War Productions brought up the schedule. Akron, Penn State, Georgia State, Alabama State, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, LSU, South Carolina, A&M. I agree with Kowalski here. He's saying 8-5 on that schedule alone. I'm saying 7-5, and a bowl win on top of that. Maybe he is saying that on with that 8-5 with the bowl win is what I say. Excited about the change, but not a fan of how all was handled. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I think you can be excited for the change, but not happy with it, what you want. Neil is looking at the renderings now. A barber shop. There, I've seen it myself. It's in other facilities as well. I think Alabama, I've seen one that they have something. So, when I talk about this football development center, how is that a development thing? It's development in the way that you recruit players, I guess, but it's frustrating to think that that's what we have to do to compete, but it's what you have to do. And we're behind, and we've been behind because there's been boosters that have refused, and this is a known fact. Like this is, there's boosters that refuse to support financially the way they normally do simply because Coach Malzahn was here. And that's a sad thing, right? that they didn't allow a coach to be his maximum potential with the facilities to recruit against the best, simply because they didn't like him and want him as the head coach. That's just sad. But it's also sad that we need a barbershop to recruit. But hey, that's what it is. In the renderings that I have seen of like schematics of how it's all like laid out, you can see like coach's office, how it's structured. There's a team meeting room. There's even like a mini indoor like field, but it's not a full field. It's just a couple of lines. And I think what it is this so that they can come out of their meetings, and if they actually kind of want to stand in, their formations or whatever, they can kind of picture it there without having to go out on the field. It's like a visual aid room that's a little bit bigger than a visual aid room. It's pretty incredible. Got to go Zoom class at 11:10. Yeah, I will probably be going live the next couple of days, but it will be from a different location. Who knows what the internet service is going to be like, so I hope that y'all join us, but it'll be a little sporadic in terms of that. I remember Gus made a $1 million pledge, $2 million pledge to be completely correct, towards the new facility. I'm assuming he changed his mind. Knowing who knowing who Gus Malzahn is, I would, and the type of money that he now has, I wouldn't be surprised with his character that if he did not pull that back, how much he cares about those players, and knowing that the players that he just coached some of them will get to see this. But do you blame him if he pulled the money out? I don't blame him whatsoever. But when a head coach has to put $2 million of his own money to convince others to do it, to help him, that's pretty sad. And that shows you the state that our Auburn fandom is in when boosters are using that against a coach. Anyway, that's neither here nor there at this point, but just kind of reiterating that fact. Penn State coming to Auburn will be an interesting game. Hopefully we can attend that game. So that's 2 seasons away. Remember that. I hope you were aware of that. We're going to Penn State next year. But, yeah. It's in Penn. Yeah, there we go. We got a little clarification going. Yeah, but I think that will be fun, and I will make every effort to be at that game. Hopefully we're all back to normal by then. There's an online link to see these images of the development center. I do not have Twitter or Facebook. Is there? Yes. So AL.com, I think probably will have posted it on Facebook as well. I cannot confirm that. Oh, well, you said no Twitter or Facebook. I would imagine if you go AL.com, Auburn Football Development Center, and just type it in, it'll come up because it's on their website. So that's what I would go look at, Aaron, if you don't have a social media like that, because it's really cool. But like I said, I've got what I believe to be the full renderings that are hundreds of pages of every little bit of this that I'm just going to start looking through and talk about a little bit with permission from somebody. I'm not going to show them because I don't have permission to yet, but it's absolutely incredible. So today so far, the morning news has been a little slow and had been a little not as exciting as yesterday, and I kind of expect that. Like I said, I don't know that we're going to get too many other major announcements today, because I think last interviews are happening, and I think you'll see interviews are probably happening today. This weekend, some decisions probably made, maybe an announcement or two, but really when Monday and Tuesday roll around, I think you're going to start seeing the full Auburn staff take shape, and that's just speculation based on just kind of logically looking through this here. All right, so here's where I'm at, guys. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to the Twitter folks. Thank you all for being here, and we hope to see you on YouTube sometime. All right, so most of you know that I stay here on YouTube for y'all just a little bit longer because y'all are special. Well, everybody's special, but just because y'all are awesome. By the way, we breached 600 subscribers. We are well on the way to getting close to 700. Y'all are absolutely incredible in terms of your desire to be here, your support of this. So from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all so much. And I always love watching the numbers drop when people think I'm leaving. It dropped a little bit there. Couple things. Let me go through my last minute stuff at the end, and then I'll take last minute comments and questions that I see are already coming in. If you haven't, please like this video if you enjoyed what you've watched. If you haven't, which somebody hasn't, I'm sorry. But I hope that you'll consider liking the video if you haven't. And subscribe and hit the notification bell. Like I said, I do these on a random basis, on not a scheduled time. So if you want to know when I go live and when we're all going to be here, You need to have the notification bell along with the subscribe button hit. That way you'll know that we are live. Second couple things here is if you haven't, please do go consider subscribing here on, I'm putting the thing in the link to our podcast network. Got a new episode up today of Auburn Roots. Somebody telling their Auburn story. I hope you go check out. His name is Scott Scroggins. You know him as Scroggins Noggin on Twitter. He's a stats guy for Auburn. Well, about Auburn stuff. So you definitely want to go check his story out. Also, if you haven't, please do go check out our E2C Network Booster Club. It's our Patreon campaign where as little as $1 a month, you can help support this content. A lot of you are asking during my break during the week while I was at my day job where I was, were worried about me. I have a day job. If you'd like me to be more available to do these things, and we'll have to have support on the network. So at least go check it out. See if it's worth your time. For $1 a month, it gets you a lot of good stuff. That is my boilerplate stuff. And as I said, this weekend I will be on the road, but I should be able to go live. The location will be different. The internet could be a little sketchy. We'll see. I'll do my best to give you a quality stream, especially as news breaks, because I'm sure some will. That is the gist of what I have on housekeeping. Let's see. Let me back up here. Kowalski, we want Sharif. Everybody wants Sharif. I'm not hopeful for that, buddy. At this point, the NCAA doesn't seem to like us all that much. When did you start E2C War Production Says? So he's going to start the long chain of explaining this. Myself, Ben King, who was a former co-host of No Huddle, the Auburn football show on the network, and then his name was Tristan Madden, also became part of the football show. But we started the Ever to Conquer podcast in 2014. Actually, our anniversary is in 9 days, 7 days, a week. I'll have to go confirm that. 7 years that we've been doing this. In about a year's time after that, we decided that we wanted to try a network format and break out into separate shows. The first one to do that was Inside the Jungle for men's basketball, which has been going to this day. I'm on that one. And then we have No Huddle that obviously broke out of necessity for football. We actually had a softball show at one point. We do track and field, equestrian, cross country with track and field. We've had baseball, which is on hiatus right now. We have recruiting. We have Auburn fan stories. We've even done a Bachelor review series when Maddie Pruitt, the coach's daughter, was on it. And we do an extra series where anything Auburn we discuss. Like, it doesn't have to be technically sports related. So all kinds of good stuff out there for you to check out. So great question. Almost 7 years. So you think Bo should start just because he started the last 2 seasons? I think he should at least bow to keep. I never said that I think he should start. I just said I think he will. Because it's always fascinating to me how people interpret things into what you're saying and don't actually listen. And I'm not mad at you, Nick, but it's just funny. Like, I never said just because he started the last 2 years he should start. I think there should be a battle every year because competition makes each other better. I just don't buy into because some kid's high school tape looks great that he's going to beat out Bo Nix and that he's the better choice. Let him get on the field together and let's see what happens. And if he wins, hey, that means our team's going to be better, right? I'm not unhappy about that. If we keep T. Will and Caddy, I'll be happy with Coach Brian Harsin no matter who the rest he hires. I think Kenneth. I think a lot of Auburn fans would be happy with that. We'll see if it happens though. Looks good should go along in terms. Looks good should go a long way in terms of helping recruiting. In terms of the building, yes, it is very good looking. You need a logo with a link for your E2C network on the screen. So I will tell you this, John. If you want links to anything that we do, you can go to etcnetwork.com. But, I started doing these streams just on a whim. We used to do a Facebook Live show all the time, like every Monday night. But it kind of... Social media, unless you are just huge, doesn't really garner and hold an audience like YouTube does. And so I just kind of came on here one day to talk about some news, and people started showing up, which y'all are awesome for. So I say all that to say we're kind of learning and growing what we want to do with this. And as we continue to grow, we'll start making some changes, yes, to, improve the image quality. I'm aware it's a little fuzzy and things like that, and lighting, all that stuff. But we're working on it. But I agree with you that I'd like to do some of those things. New facility looks nice. And then Nick, thank you, War Productions. I didn't say there shouldn't be a battle. I'm off to Zoom. War Productions, thank you for being here today. Pop, so I heard from a former Auburn player on another podcast that Gus did not practice first string in practice. Found it strange, your opinion. Who was the former player? Pop, could you clarify who that former player was? Was it Trevon Reed? Is that who that was? And I love Trevon Reed, so I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I think without knowing who that is and the context within it was there a time period where we did not practice first against first? Yes, I think that's a high likelihood. King Dunlap. I don't really want to say anything based off of who said it because I don't know. I obviously don't know a lot of Auburn football players personally. I know some. But I remember not having so many fond feelings about King Dunlap. Most of the time when you see players come out and say something not nice about a coach, there's usually a reason they're doing it. They have an axe to grind or something like that. And so I'm not trying to disparage and say that something he's saying is completely untrue. So, and as I said in the setup to the question, what are my thoughts on it? I think it happened at some point because that's just the nature of practicing. Sometimes you don't want to practice your first against your first because you want them to kind of just get reps and not hurt each other, right? Because tendency is if you run your first against your first, you run the risk of hurting two of your starters. Most coaches do that, but you should do a little bit of it, okay? So my opinion of it is this. If he said it, it probably happened. Did it happen as much as most people are taking that with? No. Usually if a player says something like that, they have an axe to grind. John, yes, I appreciate you start following. Yeah, we're on, I don't know if you're following all our stuff here on YouTube, obviously, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then our podcast network on Apple Podcasts you can find. Pop says he said no practice has ever had first string against first string. I would be interested to know could he prove that, and could he say that it never happened, or did it happen during a certain string of time? And if that's the case, here's the thing. Coaches make decisions sometimes that we don't have to have the answers to. It could have been a depth issue. And I find it interesting that King Dunlap, which I can't even remember. Hold on. Just bear with me 2 seconds here. I'm going to look up King Dunlap, Auburn. I'm going to look when he was there. Because what I remember, he did not get a lot of playing time at Auburn. Let's look here. I know I'm kind of being boring at this moment, but just hang on a second. I'm just looking, since we're talking about this, what his career looked like at Auburn. Played at Auburn football, 2005. Okay, so he didn't even play for. That's what I thought. I was like, he didn't even play for Coach Malzahn. So this is a former player giving opinions about what was going on the field and the practice field when they weren't even involved in the practice facility. So that should tell you something right there. First of all, think about this. When someone's giving an opinion, they're giving you the small window of what they saw and probably talking to former players. I don't know King Dunlap, and I'm not saying that he's lying, but what I'm saying is he is giving you a perspective into a small window that he had. I trust the coaches to make the right decisions with what information they have, personally. Jay, what's up, man? We are just about to get out of here, though, but I'm glad that you're here. Is Cadillac staying? I think chances have improved. I'm still not thinking that's a high likelihood. He replaced Marcus McNeil. Hope Cadillac stays. He'd be a huge winner recruiting, in my opinion. In terms of running backs, I think so. Obviously, I'm a fan of keeping Cadillac and T-Will. We'll see if it happens. I'm sure a lot of news is going to be coming out over the next couple days. A lot of rumors. Remember, always analyze the rumor and realize there might be a little smoke, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a fire there. So always think that when you hear a rumor or something like that. Sometimes people just want you to click their sites, and that's me as a media person telling you that. So anyway, thank y'all so much for being here. Subscribe, hit that notification bell so when you know we go live again for some breaking news, I'm sure. But yeah, thank y'all for being here. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.